Hello, thanks for tuning in. Before we get into things with the content, I just wanted to after the fact, let people know that this was recorded on Friday afternoon, so before the Game 3 results for both Pacers versus Cavs and Thunder versus Nuggets. Also, this is my very first podcast, sort of introduction. I'm going solo, but I will have guests on in the future. Don't worry, it won't just be me yapping for every single podcast. So bear with me for this one. If you want to be a guest, if you want to talk hoops with me, just reach out to me at pick_pop pod on Instagram. I believe is the account. I'll put the link down below to reach out to me. Feel free to. I'm more willing to have any guests on. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Pick and Pop podcast. I am your host, Caleb Carroll, podcast where we talk all things basketball. And currently the NBA playoffs are in full force as we have had 2 games played in every single second round series. Currently the scores are in the West, both series are tied at 1-1 with the Timberwolves versus the Warriors and the Thunder versus the Nuggets. And in the East, surprisingly, each series is 2-0, but the road team has won all 4 games. The road team is up 2-0 in all of those series. So let's start. I think the biggest series to discuss is the defending champion Boston Celtics against the New York Knicks, where the Knicks lead 2-0 after 2 close wins. They won game 1 overtime, they went to 105, and they won game 2, 91-90 on a last-second defensive stop. So this is obviously a surprising result, but what a lot is made about Boston's struggles from 3-point range. I think they're 25% both games. In game 1, it's the record for most missed threes in the playoffs, going 15 for 60, and in game 2 they went 10 for 40. And I didn't get to watch the full game 1, but I was able to watch the entirety of game 2. And I felt like Boston had, especially early on in the game, had good success, driving inside. And like early on, I think first couple possessions, Jaylen Brown sort of was attacking Josh Hart, kind of using his size, and Jrue Holiday was attacking Jalen Brunson. Boston feels like, especially in those matches, feels a bit more athletic, feels a bit like definitely a bigger team in that way. And it's a problem with where Boston gets very 3-point happy to take too many 3-pointers and stuff. So it was clear they were being more aggressive early on. I think that helped them get out to that big lead in game 2 because they were up 20, sort of like midway through the third quarter. They'd be more aggressive, and feel like with Brown in particular, the reigning Finals MVP, when he's a lot to me about Jaylen Brown's lack of a great handle. Obviously, everyone kind of makes fun of him because he doesn't have a left hand, but he's so athletic, and so yeah, he's so athletic that when he's decisive with his move, when he's like clear and doesn't dribble too much, he's very effective. The problem Brown is when he starts doing these weird like twists and turns and tries to do like between leg cross and stuff, where we could lose the ball just driving to the rim. That's when he's good, and that's when the first half and stuff. That's what he was doing. He was hunting. Josh Hart, I think, is a good defender. He was hunting Josh Hart and scoring pretty well. Second half, he just number one, when the Knicks came back, I don't know if it was tired. I don't know if Boston got tired and stuff. I don't know if the Knicks defense did feel like it picked up and stuff, but Boston just felt like they settled for way more 3-pointers in that fourth quarter. And I also have to give a lot of credit to Knicks, I guess, power forward, OG Anunoby. His defense was spectacular this game. He had great possessions guarding Brown, great possessions guarding Jason Tatum, the Celtics' sort of main star. He had, again, as I mentioned before, Brown's handle is an issue. OG had multiple trips on him, either on the ball or sort of in kind of the help, sort of digging down and a help role on Jaylen Brown. Yeah, and I feel like Boston, first half more aggressive, second half, large part due to Knicks defense. I think OG, small forward Mikal Bridges had really locked on defense, and Boston just started settling too much for 3 pointers and stuff. And as I said before, they haven't been making them. Like, people might say like, "Oh, Boston's too complacent as a team and stuff," but I feel like the Knicks is sort of giving up, or not giving up, but the Knicks definitely felt more willing to give up the 3 pointers and stuff. It didn't feel like Boston was taking awful shots. It was like they're taking shots that that they normally make at a higher rate. Like Derek White, who is I think this season was one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. He only went 3 of 11 from threes, and a lot of looks felt like pretty good looks, like looks that you'll normally make. So if Boston, I don't know, losing both teams at home is rough. I think this defense did play well this game, but if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm telling myself that we missed shots that we normally make. I also think Kristaps Porzingis, the Celtics star center, who's so key for their spacing, as another guy who can not only space out to the 3-point line, but also sort of punish mismatches inside. I don't know full details of it, but I know he has some weird illness and stuff, so he only played 14 minutes this game. But then, mentioning Brown, the other piece of it is Jason Tatum. Tatum last year got a lot of criticism, even though he won the title, and he's had good playoff moments and stuff. Sometimes it feels like doesn't have sort of like an it doesn't have that like it can feel like even though he has the accolades, he has the team success, and he feels like he's missing something. And the issue with him in game one was he sells too many threes. So late in the game, he got switches onto the Knicks big men matchups that he tends to be able to use his his athleticism. At 6'10", he has one of the best handles in the league for a player his size. He's athletic. He's smooth. He's versatile. He should be able to blow by them and get to the rim. But the problem with career, he gets way too 3-point happy, where it seems like even when he has a slight angle to the rim, he doesn't fully take it. Instead, he goes back and settles for a difficult step back three. And I know there's one very late in game one, when I'm pretty sure that had a chance to go ahead. He got switched on to Knicks big man Mitchell Robinson, and he took a step back three, and he missed it. And it's like, yeah, that's the time where you should go to the basket. That's the ultimate problem with Tatum. So that indecisiveness, that lack of aggression, I think is partially why in the Olympics last summer, even though it's a big controversy, that the reason why he got benched by Steve Kerr playing for Team USA. But this game, game one, I think he took 21 shots, or like in game one, he took 15 3-pointers, which were the vast majority of his shots. And in game two, he took 19 shots, and only 5 of them were 3-pointers, so definitely more aggressive and stuff. But he was just like, I feel like he was getting fine looks. He was just like missing the number of shots off the rim, and that I felt like those were easy shots, and Tatum was just missing those easy shots at the rim. Also, again, Jim Brown, defense of OG Anunoby was huge. Having the size, length of body of Tatum. I think Tatum's the guy that a few times, like on that last, or I guess second to last possession, when the Celtics went up 90-89, kind of before the Knicks won it in the end. When they sort of set a screen up really high and stuff, and Tatum's able to kind of get the Knicks big further away from the paint and stuff to attack him more in space and for that go-ahead dunk. But so in space he's good. Also, as like I said, has a really good handle, but he lacks a great athleticism in traffic. He's not the best finisher in traffic right there. He's not the most physical guy. What I compare it to is watching, as I talk about more, watching the Cavs Pacers series. It feels like when Cavs star Donovan Mitchell has sort of an angle. Cole uses sort of size and stuff, just like, I guess not like height, but kind of like girth to, if he has an angle, he's not giving up that angle. When Tatum has an angle a lot of times, he'll step back, he'll be hesitant in contact. It's just a lack of great aggression. And again, I just think there are a lot of shots he shot this game where he should have made them inside and just, I don't know what it was, but just couldn't hit them, because you would think that Celtics should be able to score pretty well on the rim this series, because the Knicks center is Karl-Anthony Towns, who's not that's not known for being a great rim protector. And in regular season, Boston, the whole big deal about the Knicks in the regular season was, I believe they're like 0-11 or 0-10 versus the kind of top two teams in the league, who were obviously Cleveland, Oklahoma City, and Boston. And Boston against the Knicks were 4-0. He thought like they can space Cat out. They have good wings to defend the Celtics wings. They have Drew Holiday and Derek White, who are two of the best guard defenders in the league, to defend Jalen Brunson. And just I guess a lot of it can be contributed to the Celtics 3-point shooting woes, but Knicks defense, it feels like stepped up a lot. It's not just 3-point shooting. The Knicks are playing well on defense, especially with those two the two main wings in OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. But then as for the Knicks offense, it felt like for a lot of game they were struggling. I think especially Jalen Brunson, for the whole game, he finished 6 of 19, and it felt like on every possession for the Knicks, the paint was crowded. It never felt like Brunson could get an easy layup. It felt like everything was hard. Drew Holiday, Derek White, those star guard defenders were always shadowing him, always made it difficult for him. And the spacing didn't. I think the Knicks, the Celtics were helping off Josh Hart. A lot of times Karl-Anthony Towns would be in the paint and stuff. So Brunson could never really get an easy shot inside, and then with White or Holiday bothering him too, kind of to contest his jump shot, using their length to bother his release. So that's why Brunson was never really able to get going. I think he did hit some big shots in the fourth, but this game, Celtics did a really good job on him. But I was telling myself before the game that if the Knicks want to win, if the Knicks want to be like truly like, if I want to feel good about the Knicks winning the title, you need to see they've given up a lot for OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns. They're gonna need these guys to step up, and it feels like Catapult sometimes and sort of get lost, sort of forget he's out there. In this game, with Brunson struggling, OG was struggling on offense, Mikal for a while, pretty much the first three quarters, was struggling on offense. You needed Karl-Anthony Towns to step up. And in the first half, we went to multiple times in the post, just using his sort of superior size, using his strength, his athleticism. He's able to get multiple times just kind of bully the older Al Horford in the paint to get some baskets. Also, he's pretty huge, had 3 offensive rebounds. I believe all those were putbacks and stuff to get scores. I did feel that there are times when Cat can force things, kind of bully his way inside, sort of like chuck up a shot, even if it's into a double team. But overall, I felt that he was really good. And then I'd say the main star of the show was Josh Hart. And even though the Celtics they were helping off him, he made himself so useful. Like great cuts to the basket, drives in transition. Just he's so good at even when teams help off of him, just does the little things to make them valuable. Like always sort of just like a nuisance for the other team. Where even if you leave him, he'll be open in the paint, he'll kind of float into a short mid range and stuff. And so his sort of off ball basketball IQ was very huge for the Knicks. And then finally, I want to touch on Mikal Bridges. Game one, both games has had some incredible defensive plays. This game, of course, the game-winning steal in the last seconds to kind of clinch the win for for New York. And in the first three quarters, I don't know if he even scored in the first three quarters, but the fourth, as the game was slipping out of control for the Knicks, he hit huge shot. A lot of me the Knicks trading 5 for Bridges, who seems like sort of been relegated to more of a role player role this year in the Knicks system, but in game one, or in the fourth quarter of game two, he was huge. Just using that kind of mini KD stretch, but it did look a little mini KD. Kind of getting to that mid range, using a high release point, getting those shots off. I think what I have with Mikal is the rim pressure there, the ability to get to the rim, create efficient shots, is not really there. It doesn't have the best handle, and kind of like I said with Tatum, Tatum's way better. So kind of similar problem of he lacks the core strength to really drive through contact, get to the rim, which is why he's not suited. He's not super suited to be that sort of primary scorer. But for a guy you traded 5 first-round picks for, you need him at points to sort of take over. Stop the bleeding, give you that little spurt of just good offensive play of showing you not the whole game, but just like little stretches of being a primary go-to guy. And in the fourth quarter, even though in the end he only finished 6 for 18, it felt better than that. It felt like, especially when they needed him most, he delivered big baskets, shooting over defense and stuff, using that length, sort of helping to stay in the game. So I feel like even though the stats for like OG Anunoby only finished 2 for 9, Bridges only 6 for 18, I felt like they made their money's worth this game. It's like OG on defense, 4 steals and a block, and some tremendous one-on-one defensive possessions, and then Bridges with that stretch in the fourth was hitting those shots to keep them in the game, and also had 3 steals, and then Cat going 21 points on 9 for 16, shooting from the field. Sort of like the kind of other stars, the other main guys, including Josh Hart, besides Brunson, really stepped up, and it made it seem like these moves that could be questionable, of sort of the moves surrounding Brunson, really are what won the game. Those guys are what won the game for New York this game. And then the other series in the Eastern Conference is the 1-seed Cavaliers versus the 4-seed Indiana Pacers, where the Pacers have upset the Cavs in games 1 and 2, so they're now 2-0, with the series going to Indiana for game 3 tonight. And the Cavs obviously have more excuses, I guess, for this series than Boston does, as in game 1, the Cavs were missing their star point guard, Darius Garland, and in game 2, the Cavs were missing both not only Garland, but also star power forward Evan Mobley and defensive player of the year Evan Mobley, and star 6-man DeAndre Hunter, who they acquired from Atlanta at the trade deadline. And the main thing this series, I'd say, has been Indiana's 3-point shooting, as in game 1, Andrew Nembhard 5 of 6 from 3, and they get the exact stats up right here, but Yeah, in game one, Andrew Nembhard had 5 of 6 from 3 point range. Aaron Nesmith 4 for 6. I believe he also had 5. I believe Nesmith also made 5 in game two. So in game one, Indiana was 19 of 36 on threes. That's 53%. And then in game two, Indiana went 11 of 28, so a bit less, but that is still a healthy 39% on three pointers. And it felt like the Cavs were more focused on sort of sinking down into the paint to stop in his penetration and stuff. The Pacers was kicking out, like, you basically didn't feel like they were driving a ton. It more so felt like the Cavs sort of more so willing to give up those threes than allow those drives inside. And I don't believe it was awful defense from Cleveland, especially with some of the Nemhard shots in game one. Basically, where it's like hitting some pretty crazy difficult 3 point shots. Um, and obviously in game one, I'd say that was the main reason Indiana won that game, as they went 1936 from 3 point range, while Cleveland went 9 for 38. In a 9 point game, giving up 30 points, a 3 point difference on 3 pointers, and it's not it's one thing if like one team makes more threes and they shoot way more, but Cleveland took 2 more 3 point shots and still had a 3 point deficit in terms of 3 point points. So when that happens, you're not going to win the game. And you're sort of on fire this game, and there's really nothing Cleveland can do. That's what won in the game for Indiana. Game two was a lot different. Game two, Indiana 11 of 28, 39% from three, and Cleveland, this time they were still 11 of 39, so still not great, but it's still a mental game to win. But again, this is a similar game to the Boston game, or in terms of sort of the flow of the game, or how the narrative of the game, I should say, as Cleveland gets out to for most of the game, Cleveland was the team clearly in control. Cleveland got out to a 20 point lead in the third quarter, and then Indiana was chipped away, hit some big threes, and then in the end, of course, Tyrese Halliburton, after it was 119 to 116, Halliburton drives inside, misses the first free throw, misses the second free throw, gets the rebound, and then sauces up, hits the step back three for the win. And I think one issue that Halliburton, to me, he's one of the most interesting players in the league, because he just the way he looks, he's so upright. He's sort of like it looks like he definitely has an awkward jump shot. His hand looks a bit stiff and stuff because he's such like a skinny, upright guy. But it seems like every play he just finds a way to get to his spots. He has great touch. I think it's sort of this herky jerky sort of change of pace game. He does have a really good handle, and even if that sort of outside shot looks awkward, it is very effective. So I think Halliburton, one of the when I watch him, it's like he doesn't seem that like athletic. He doesn't seem like that like a leader player, but he always finds a way to get it done. So lots of props to him. In this game, he had 19.7 of 11. Made both 3 point shots. And an issue the Cavs have had is defending Indiana's pick and roll actions, as it feels like every time Halliburton gets a switch on to Jarrett Allen, who's a good defender, but is a guy, I think that Jarrett Allen's lack of versatility is showing in this series, as they can't really switch it and stuff, because when they switched, Halliburton just blows by him. There was one play in sort of, I think, early second quarter of game two where they tried to drop coverage, so sort of playing off and they give a pretty easy three for Halliburton, which he hit. So Halliburton just, and then if you double Halliburton and stuff, he'll find shooters, and just a lot of reason why Indiana's making so many 3-point shots. And I think a lot of times people sort of complain about the modern NBA, just say it's all just like drive and kick. It's all just like 3-point shots. The league is too 3-point reliant and stuff. I think Indiana, just people just say, oh, they're lucky and they're making threes. Like they sort of boil the team down to that. I think it's more than that. I think the Pacers, like if Halliburton gives it up, it feels like they always make the right decision. They always like take a good three. They'll drive inside. So like everyone on the team has the ability to shoot. Everyone has the ability to sort of drive. They make such good extra passes in game one, especially. There's multiple times when like they pass it to the paint, and pass it out, and they pass it around, just kind of forcing. Even just like a slight getting the Cavs even slight bit off. They're able to once they force the tiniest help, they're able to swing around so nicely to get the best shot, which is why in this series and the series against Milwaukee last round, they've been so effective from 3-point range. Also, I think they're a team that I mentioned in the Knicks Celtics series that even though the Knicks won the game, the paint it felt crowded. It felt like Jalen Brunson couldn't really fully get to his spots. Nothing felt easy for him. The Pacers are a team that shows the value of 5-out spacing. Pascal Siakam, it hasn't really been the biggest 3-point shooter in this playoffs, I don't believe, and you check those stats. Siakam is, I guess he's shooting at 44%. So yeah, the Pacers, everyone, at least in stars, everyone can shoot threes. Even Miles Turner just has really to stretch out. He hit some pretty deep, top of the key threes this game, and just having that just opens up the spacing so much. Just makes the drive and kick game so much more fluid, so much more easy for Indiana. And having a guy like Halliburton, who has a great handle, can get inside, and again is one of the best passes in the NBA, is why this Pacers team for multiple years has been one of the best offenses in the league. But I think another thing that makes them so dangerous is, as I sort of hinted at, it's not like a lot of times when you have sort of teams that are sort of heliocentric, where sort of everything goes around this one player sort of dribble penetration. Like a lot like LeBron teams in the past. A lot of the Houston Rockets, James Harden teams from many years ago. Some of the Mavs, the pre-Kyrie, Luka Mavs teams. Andrew Nembhard is also a guy that Pacers can go to, especially his playoff numbers always seem to improve and stuff. He's a guy that seems ready for this big stage in game. This game, only 5 of 13, over from 4 from 3, but they have 13 assists. But the 18 errors, but he's definitely a guy that Halliburton, while he's definitely the main driving engine of this offense, he's not overtaxed. I do think one thing I'll say is I do think partially the Cavs defense has been good on him, but Pascal Siakam feels too relegated to a side role. This is the guy that's supposed to be your big second star, and at least for me, so far this series, he's not really playing like it. He seems to be more of an afterthought, and it makes sense because Indiana's offense has worked with sort of the more spread out style. But one thing I did notice is when there's a stretch, I think late in the first quarter of game 2, early second quarter, where Halliburton went to the bench, and the Pacers had T.J. McConnell running the offense. At that point, and also at the same point, because the Cleveland was missing Evan Mobley, who sort of functions as their backup center, they had to go to a small ball and stuff. And honestly, for this small ball felt very effective to me, because I I think they're playing forward Dean Wade at the 5. He was able to switch a lot more. I thought him and forward guard Javonte Green were very effective on defense. And the Pacers offense went through a big drought. I don't know the numbers, but it felt like they just couldn't get anything going. And I feel like the Pacers should have adjusted more to maybe feed Siakam inside, or maybe, I forget if Miles Turner was in, but even feed Miles Turner, same Miles Turner, inside instead of relying on McConnell, because at that point the Cavs defense was way more built for kind of stopping the pick and roll, stopping the sort of spread out perimeter-based action of Cleveland. And I do say that, but also Siakam hasn't been great. It feels a lot of times that even when he got switched on to like Donovan Mitchell or get a matchup where he has size advantage, a lot of time he just settles for a not good like turnaround or mid-range jumper. I don't know if he can't get there, but I want to see Siakam be more aggressive and stuff, because I mentioned with the Knicks that, like I said before, for the Knicks, I wanted Karl-Anthony Towns to be more aggressive. I wanted Mikal Bridges, sort of like these guys that are supposed to be sort of like the support stars, need to step up if a team really wants to go deep run. And it's kind of ironic because Pacers are up 2-0 in this series and winning both games on the road, but they need Siakam to play a bigger role. They still went 5 for 8, 12, but only 12 points. Did have that big and one late in the game, which sort of helped Indiana stay in it. The other guy, well, first off, I want to highlight Miles Turner. Again, hit some big threes. That and even though it's only 2 3-pointers, just having that, just like even knowing he has that threat to space out and hit those 3-pointers, just even that threat, yeah, it helps open up the offense so much, having that spacing from your big man, which are usually supposed to be kind of these big brute forces inside that can't shoot. And also a few times to sort of little space out to kind of to the short mid-range area, so not as far as the 3-point line, but if you space even like 10 feet away, even like this quick like 8-foot jumper, even that like is spacing, because it's forcing, in this case, Jarrett Allen for Cleveland to go out a little bit, or if he doesn't, if he collapses too hard into the paint on like a Halliburton drive or a Nembhard drive, then they can kick out the Turner, who hit a few of those sort of short, medium, mid-range shots. And then in the fourth quarter, they were going to more Nembhard plus Turner pick and roll actions, and the Cavs would start switching it, or at least would always lead to Allen on Jarrett Allen on Nembhard, and then Turner matched up kind of mismatching against a smaller defender inside. And he did miss a fair amount of shots. There was one possession where I think he missed maybe 3 shots in a row. He missed 3 shots in a row against smaller defenses, but there definitely were possessions as well where he's able to use his size and stuff to score. So Turner's ability to score in the mid-range, from 3, and inside, also 5-6 on free throws, 23 points in the end, tying for the high score with Aaron Nesmith. Was pretty huge in a game where Nembhard, again, 5 for 13. And yeah, it shows the versatility of Pacers team. Like they lack any like elite scorers, I'd say. But in this game, they had no one over 23 points, but 6 people over 12 points. So great versatile attack. Sorry, I had to take a break from the podcast to go get a haircut, so that's why I suddenly look different. But there's a few more players I wanted to highlight for Indiana. The first one is Aaron Nesmith, who in Game 1, he had a lot of 3-pointers. He was one of the big reasons for their win. He went 4 of 6 from 3. And then in Game 2, Nesmith went 5 of 8 from 3, also had 13 overall for 23 points. And it was weird to me because watching this game, Nesmith didn't really stand out because his threes were all spread out. Like he never went on one like run where he hit two in a row or hit a few threes in a row. Like there was one moment where, for me, I felt he's catching fire. It was all spread out and stuff. And again, if my memory serves, I believe besides maybe the very first one he hit, all the threes Nesmith made were when Indiana held on to a pretty big deficit. So, like, you may feel, oh, a 3 down 17 or a 3 down 15 points isn't that big. But in this game, all of these threes, even though, like, the time they occur in the game may seem like, oh, kind of inconsequential, though his threes were so key in helping Indiana stay in the game, and in the end, he finishes as tied with Turner for the high score with 23 points and 5 3-pointers. Um, Also, towards the end, has had some big defense too. I think had a strip on Donovan Mitchell with maybe 2 minutes left, and then sort of at the end, sort of in Indiana's furious final comeback as the Pacers were down 7 with a minute left, he drew an offensive foul that was a key catalyst in that crazy comeback. The other guy I want to highlight is Benedict Mathurin for Indiana. He 19 points off the bench, 6 of 10 from the field, 6 of 6 on free throws, especially in that fourth quarter, or I guess sort of late third quarter in the fourth quarter, when Halpern went to the bench in the late third. Cavs were up like 15 or so. Mathurin had some big drives inside, was attacking Jarrett Allen's space. He was the 6'6" pick a few years ago in 2022, and he decided to throw that burst that lesson was a large reason for that. And he showed that this game had some big drives, hit a three, had a putback dunk, had a nice cut to the basket. Just really involved, very very aggressive. Going to the paint, whether it was on drives or sort of off-ball cuts. I think another big reason for Indiana's comeback is looking at the statistics. In the first 3 quarters, the Cavs had 11 offensive rebounds to Indiana's 2 offensive rebounds, and the Cavs just felt like quicker to the most balls and stuff. It wasn't even like Jarrett Allen being way bigger than the Pacers. It wasn't like a really size issue. It was more so a lot of rebounds were Dean Wade or wing Max Strus, and that, like, the Cavs just felt, I guess, obviously being down 1-0, facing a 2-0 deficit at home, the Cavs just felt more like they wanted it more. I'd say they're winning more, or at least they were winning more of the 50-50 balls. But then in the fourth quarter, that really flipped because the Pacers had six offensive rebounds, and the Cavs had 3. So the Cavs didn't let up too much. The Pacers were tossing a lot more to the ball. But also the Cavs sort of defense, the rebounding definitely fell off. I mentioned there's a Mathurin putback in the fourth. There also was on I think Siakam free throws late in the game. Didn't box on free throws, which should be the easiest time to box out, and they let Nesmith get inside for a putback. And then on the last possession, I believe it was Halliburton who got the rebound, and then that which led to Indiana win. And then there's also a few plays where sort of similar, like a lack of great off-ball awareness from Cleveland on defense. There were 2 Siakam post-ups where another guy was cut and kind of sort of like flow into a pretty easy mid-range jump shot where had no one covering them for a standard wide-open like 10-footer. So Cleveland's defense, also in Indiana's hustle, was sort of the contrast between the first 3 quarters and the last quarter was a big reason for why Indiana outscored Cleveland by 15 points in the fourth quarter. Then as for Cleveland's offense, the big story, of course, is Donovan Mitchell. He took 30 shots this game. Yes, he took 30 shots, 21 free throws for 48 points. I thought he was spectacular. I mentioned before, sort of comparing with Tatum and stuff. Mitchell, his aggression is great. He at pick and roll, he uses he's only like 6'3", I think, but like pretty girthy body. uses that sort of low center of gravity so well to get inside. His touch is great. His hang time is great. He uses like hands really well, sort of change directions, scoring in any way around the paint, getting to the line. Indiana really had no way to stop him. They could try switching it. He could switch pretty easily. They tried going into a drop coverage. He just attacks in space. They did try a couple of times. I think when they went in the pick and roll, when they went after Halliburton, Indiana sort of hedged it or sort of tried to trap it a bit. But when they trapped it, Mitchell was able to find Mitchell, who isn't a great passer. He was able to find sort of basic reads to Max Strus hit some threes off those actions. So that pick and roll is definitely presenting a large problem. Mitchell, especially attacking the rim, has been great. The main issue with Mitchell has been his 3-point shooting. In the series so far, in this game, he was 1 for 7. In the series overall, I believe he's 2 for 18. There, especially in game 1 where he had Halliburton on him. Halliburton's a guy who great on offense. His defense, well, I think it has looked good. He does use his length well. He's a smart defender. That's a guy that Mitchell, especially being so much more physical than him, should be able to blow by him. I feel like he settled for 3-point shots a bit too much in game 1. Game 2, he was better. 23 2-point shots, 7 3-point shots. I thought his aggression was very good in game 2, but unfortunately, with Darius Garland out, the kind of sort of other star creator on offense, he was really missed because the backup Ty Jerome, who all season long has been a great point guard, in game 2, frankly, he was just really bad. He seemed kind of bothered by the size of the Pacers. He's a guy that's short. He lacks great sort of vertical pop and athleticism. And so early on, he got stripped inside. He got blocked. He got trapped on the perimeter and couldn't handle that trap. He seemed very hesitant and stuff. It seemed like all of the shots were floaters. Never wanted to go fully to the paint. And his floaters, it just seemed like a timid game he was playing. Didn't seem to be ready to jump into that starting role in replace of Darius Garland. And overall, Ty Jerome 1 for 14, 0 for 4 from 3. And then again, Jarrett Allen, while he was good, 7 of 9 from the field, 8 of 8 from free throws, so he had 22 and 12. He definitely gets unlocked a lot more when Garland's out there because Garland's one of the best pick and roll passers or just overall passers in the sport. Then the final sort of big miss for Cleveland was Evan Mobley, the defensive player of the year, like I said. And Mobley, not only first of all on defense, in those times when maybe Jarrett Allen gets caught on switch and stuff, or gets sort of the Pacers are able to stretch out the Cavs defense, having not only Allen, who's a great rim protector, but Mobley as well to back him up, is what makes Cleveland's defense so vaunted, so good, having that sort of twin towers effect. Also, his sort of high-low, high post passing I feel like him and Allen have a really good connection. Mobley's a great passer. And then on offense too, he's not a guy that's been known for being a great sort of post scorer. But this year he's really improved as a scorer in the post, especially in game 1. He had many times, every time they went him in the post, especially kind of match him on a smaller guy, he'll always score. He's a guy that's you think about him as sort of a skinny guy, but he held his spots well. He had good touch, and missing Mobley, missing Garland was clearly a big detriment for Cleveland. Garland mainly for the offense, the playmaking, alleviating pressure from Mitchell as sort of an on-ball perimeter creator. Mobley for the scoring and the defense. Mobley's this year has become one of the best players in the league. Those guys are a large reason for them being a 1 seed, and still the Pacers barely won. So if I'm Cleveland this series, I feel like if I can get those guys back for the rest of the series, and just hope Pacers can cool off a little bit, hope Mitchell's 3-point shot can sort of bounce back. I'm obviously it's bad. Pacers definitely have advantage here, but it doesn't feel like end for Cleveland. I would not be shocked if they came back and won this series. But yeah, overall, 2 great series in the Eastern Conference. 2 surprising results so far. The road team's 4-0, and maybe we're set for a rematch of last year's second round with Indiana taking on New York. So yes, we will see what happens.